Hello everyone. I hope you're well. Day 55, I believe, or 56 maybe. So today, in this video, I wanted to talk to you guys about the top two reasons why a lot of businesses fail in Bulawayo and Harare. I'm speaking about those because those are the ones that I've experienced with. I've never like opened a shop and like started those types of businesses myself, but then I have a lot of friends who came from the diaspora or who are diasporans who tried to start those businesses. So I wanted to give you the common things that I find destroying the businesses, and then at the end I'm gonna give you how I think that this situation can be resolved by the council, because I don't think it can be resolved by the business people on the ground. How I think these things can be resolved by the people who are in charge of the cities. So first of all, I think this is going to be a beneficial video if you have opened a shop, or you're planning to open a shop, because this is probably something that I wish a friend of mine who's going to be watching this video hopes he had been informed of before he opened his shop. So the first reason is lack of productivity due to power cuts. If you are operating in a space where you don't have you're not making enough money, you probably need to be open and running for as long as possible, because that's how you generate your money. For example, a friend of mine had I don't know, maybe we can say it was a gaming shop, and in these games he was like facilitating these virtual reality games, and like people would come and they'll pay, they'll play. But then the only problem was that he only made money if he was able to be running the games. So if he wasn't able to be running the games in some shape or form, then it meant that he couldn't operate his shop. So he would be severely disadvantaged in times when he wasn't able to process anything, because there was no electricity. But then I know that you could say, okay, why didn't you just like get batteries and all that stuff? An additional thing that you have to know about operating in Harare and Bulawayo and Zimbabwe in general is that when there's no electricity, the network isn't as good. It drops off immediately. I don't know what it is. So you will not be able to use your Wi-Fi, and you will not be able to use to like hotspot your stuff, because the network just becomes dog shit when there's no electricity. So for a lot of businesses that rely on like electricity to run their business, maybe as a photography, some sort of like studio, it's the different ideas that you may have. You need to know that you could be severely affected by electricity and power cuts. And then the main event of the evening, number two, it's a rent. Rent is the biggest killer of small businesses in Bulawayo and Harare. Almost everyone that I've talked to who started a business or has a business right now, the main complaint that they do have about the profitability of the business or whatever, it's the rent. For anyone who's interested in like setting up their businesses, for the most part I find that we tend to discuss, oh, like, where am I going to source the products, where am I going to get the people to work on it, and where am I going to get this, and we assume that we almost like take finding a space and finding an affordable space and finding a suitable location as well for granted. And it's not that simple. I know that when you're walking around, you may see a lot of places in town, and then you're like, oh yeah, you could like ask here if they've got a place, or ask there if they've got a place. A cousin of mine went through a very difficult time trying to secure a location for his business, and it's something that he hadn't planned on. It took him something like 3 months, and when he had found the place, the rent was exorbitant. It was an insane amount of rent, and the main thing that he was worried about when he was starting off his business was, okay, how am I going to make sure that the cash flows that I'm getting from this business are enough to cover the rent itself. So that's always like the biggest concern with a lot of people that you're gonna meet who are running these businesses with, like, hey man, like, how am I gonna like make rent today? And then you go from rent, and then it's like, oh, the people that are working there, you also have to pay them. But then for a lot of people, they decide to end up working in the company themselves, running and managing all the operations, just to reduce that extra person that they're going to be paying, so that they can be able to make rent. So you will find that despite the fact that the rent is like very high for a tiny amount of space that isn't in an optimal location, a lot of people are still gonna want it, because the demand for retail space, for like space for different things in our cities is very, very high, and the amount of spaces for those activities is significantly small, and that's what drives this massive difference, this massive rent increase. So if another observation that I made is that with the amount of somebody should do a study on this, on the number of times that people vacate premises, change locations for their businesses, like every year, because I'm sure it's like very high. There's always people that are trying to move from this location to another because they found, oh, I found a cheaper place there, or something like that, or our business practice has changed and the products has changed, so as our customers, so we need to shift places and all that. Is something that I also think that a lot of people who are in the diaspora, when they go back home to start their businesses, is something that they generally do not tend to consider a lot. Like, where are you going to find the space to do this, and how much are you going to be paying for it, and how much would make it unprofitable, how much rent would make it unprofitable for you to be embarking on this business. Because we tend to average out things and then assume that we're going to be able to make enough profit to cover like the main expense, which is the rent, because without paying rent you're not going to be able to operate at all. So a lot of problems arise from the fact that a lot of people are running unsustainable business models. That one is kind of like is maybe should be on the list of the reason why a lot of businesses fail, that a lot of people are running unsustainable business models. Because some people in a country like ours, the problem is that there's so many inefficiencies and so many horrible policies, and such that one day when they decide to revert a policy, or you opened a business because there was a gap in the market because of the way a certain policy was written, once that policy gets reverted, your whole business is gone. So that's why a lot of businesses also shut down, because they're built on very unsustainable business models. So one of the main questions that you might want to ask yourself is, okay, what's the biggest policy change that could affect the business that I'm working on? Like, I come to think of it, maybe I should maybe I should like find a way to be able to track the policy changes that are coming and going, the prospective ones, and the things that are coming up that could affect like different business sectors in Zimbabwe. That'll be an interesting thing to do as a person who's interested in investment banking. You see, now I'm linking things together. So anyways, like I said, like the rent and the electricity. So now I had proposed a solution that I am going to suggest to the people that are running the cities, that I think makes a lot of sense to help the like small to medium enterprises to get along much better. So there's commonly an online discourse about for people who are to be talking about my home city Bulawayo, talking about, oh, we need to bring it back to this industrial days and to wake up the industrial giants, because they see a lot of empty spaces and industrial zones of Bulawayo. I have a bit of a different opinion for that. I think that these industrial zones in Bulawayo should like accept that they are shut down for a reason, and that it's going to be very difficult to bring them back to life and to get them working in such a way that is profitable for the people that are investing. Because, like I said, rent in the CBD or like in the CBD surrounding areas is very very high, largely because there's a lot of these unoccupied places. For example, there's that Dunlop space, massive plot of land that takes up a lot of space in Bulawayo, but then it's not being used at all. Like from my previous knowledge, maybe if it is being used, it just be being used to the minimum capacity. Areas like that, I believe, should be more should be supported to become more satellite business areas. So like we find a shutdown factory area, and we try to increase the amount of retail space that's there, and to decrease the business activities and traffic that's in the city, so that we can reduce the prices of the of rent. Because from my understanding of economic theory of supply and demand, if you increase the supply, the price will reduce, because now a lot more people have got opportunities to buy to rent places and to run their businesses in different locations. Now the challenge that's going to come with this is to make other areas or those areas that are less close to the CPT to be more attractive for economic activity. I haven't thought that far ahead, but I'm sure that there is a way that we could be able to do that, because the decreasing or the rent prices there, they are very very high. They make it difficult for anybody who's running a legit business to prosper. That's why you're seeing a lot of China shops taking over in the CBD, and it's not a pretty sight. I don't enjoy seeing that, but I think it's largely because they are able to cover the rent, because from the first day that they open, they are making money. They have cash flow. Whereas if you are running maybe some sort of like service business, or if you are running if you're not like really running like a cash generating activity or operation from the very first day, then you're gonna have difficult times paying rent. You need maybe 3 or 4 or 5 months of cash runway to sustain yourself in the business before you can consider yourself to be making any money. And by the time a year ends, you're still not profitable, which is another thing we should point out. A lot of businesses that are running in the CBT, in the cities, all of those, a lot of businesses are not making money out there. A lot of them they make money, but they're not profitable. So there's a very very big difference there. But then that's a conversation for another day. As I was saying, it'll be very difficult to decentralize the economic activity itself. But once once we're able to do that, and we're able to increase the size of the city where there's economic activity, we're going to be able to reduce the prices of rent. And part of the idea for like that I would have is to remove more and more residential areas that are in the CBD, like residential flats and all that stuff, and relocate the people elsewhere, and use those areas as business designated areas. And then the big idea, drum roll, I think that we should consider using residential suburbs as areas for industrial activity. Wait, hear me out. I know that is for a reason that we tend to separate the two, but then I think it's getting to a point where it doesn't really make any sense. So, for example, the electricity that is used by those industrial spaces in town really pales is really high in comparison to what is used by smaller companies and smaller retail shops and all that stuff. So if we're able to relocate these industrial spaces into residential areas that are on the periphery of the city, like Mganwini and Country Park, we're able to benefit both the residents and the factory owners in two ways. One, the residents, they have closer access to areas, to job opportunities, and two, they will be able to benefit from electricity solutions that are going to be provided to the industrial zone. So if we're able to locate an IPP, an independent power producer, right next to the industrial zone, I think we're going to be able to, how do I say this? I think if we're able to create an IPP area, independent power producer, maybe they're using solar, and those people, and that is first priority is to provide electricity to the industrial zone, and then if there is more electricity, then sell it to the residential area. I think this would remove these heavy industries from the national grid. Obviously, I stand to be corrected because I'm not well versed in how the national grid works and the sizes of the demands of the electricity and all that stuff. But then let's just assume that I'm correct. If that works, then we can have maybe 2 or 3 of these maybe we can call them strategic industrial economic zones, whatever we want to call them. We can have 2 or 3 of them in maybe one in Kanyuni, one in Country Park, and one in another area, so that the people who are looking for labor, they have a large pool to pick from, and the people who are looking for work, they don't have to commute all the way to town, and then in town we're reducing the prices of the of rental for retail spaces. I think this is it probably sounds too good to be true, but I think it kind of makes a bit of sense. Just let me know what you think. So this is day 52. Thank you for watching. My name is Metimbe Thomas Chuma. So on the road to 100 videos. Bye bye.